Just getting everyone into the webinar. Welcome. So glad to have you. If you if you could just type into the chat where you are viewing this webinar from, that would be great. We can kind of see where everyone is. But welcome. We'll just take a few minutes here to get everyone into the webinar to learn about nursing, the admission timeline, and the benefits of the program here at Gonzaga. We're so glad to have you. All right, someone's coming in from California. Great. In Portland, Oregon. Love it. San Diego, California. There's another California, another San Diego. Excellent. Lots of California representation here that I can see. Some Washington, fabulous. And some more Oregon and Portland. I see Kingston, Washington. Excellent. Good. Los Angeles. All right. Whitefish, Montana. Ooh, that's close to my hometown. I'm from Montana as well, just outside of Glacier Park. Bay Area, California. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Awesome. Some more from Washington out there, I bet. And excellent. Well, we will go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Um, we are going to present a webinar on nursing at Gonzaga, and it's about the admission timeline and the benefits of the program. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. My name is Carrie Weeks. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Associate Director of Admission here at Gonzaga. And I work specifically with students in several eastern counties in Washington, in the state of Minnesota, as well as several southern states. And I'm happy to be one of your hosts here for the webinar tonight. You may have noticed that you're not able to turn on your cameras or your audio, and that's so that we can record this for those who aren't able to attend. So we would love to answer your questions, though, and that's why we do have a Q&A box. So if you have some questions, some of my colleagues will be in the Q&A and we'll be able to answer those questions if you have them as we go throughout the evening. And then toward the end, we'll try to answer any of the remaining questions that you have. We'll get through as many as we can. We will also use the chat box periodically to give you links for different pages that might be helpful to you and share some of those web pages. So now I have several colleagues that I would like you to meet. We will start with Levi, who is moderating the webinar for us. And Levi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So good evening, everyone. It's great to see you all here today. To introduce myself, I'm Levi Garcia, one of our admission counselors here at Gonzaga University. I support students from Western Washington, Central Washington, and New Mexico. And tonight I'll be moderating our chat box, helping answer some questions as well too. And I'm just happy to help out as much as I can throughout this process.
Excellent. Thank you, Levi. All right. I would love to have some of our colleagues from the nursing department share a little bit about themselves and give us a quick introduction. And they're going to share more about the program once we finish talking about the admission components of things. So let's go ahead and start with Alex and then Tara and then Amanda.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Giffen. I work here in the nursing department. I've been here for about 4 years, and I am also a graduate of Gonzaga, so I'm definitely in love with Gonzaga. I am the undergraduate academic advisor, so I advise all of the freshmen and sophomores in the nursing program, and I'm really excited to tell you all about it.
Awesome. Tara, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Tara Twite. I'm the interim BSN program director. I've been at Gonzaga for about 3 years. I also got my master's in nursing leadership from Gonzaga. I've been a nurse for about 31 years. I forgot my computer at work, so I'm on my phone. So if there's any questions that are directed at me, Carrie, let me know because I can't see the chat. So sorry about that, but welcome, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Ma. I'm also a graduate of Gonzaga University, and I graduated in 2023. And my twin sister actually graduated from the BSN program as well, and she loved it. So That's a little biased right there, but she loved the program and she felt very supported throughout it. And as the BSN program coordinator, I'm ensuring that you guys are also having a healthy environment to succeed and become great nurses. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, colleagues. So welcome again to this webinar. We know that the college process and the application process can be very stressful. So it's our hope tonight to relieve some of that stress. Many times things are the most stressful when the processes are unknown, or you have no control over them. So hopefully tonight we will give you some insight into the nursing admission process and the timelines, as well as you'll have the opportunity to hear from our nursing colleagues and the nursing department about some of the benefits and resources that are available for students. I am going to share a presentation here. And hopefully you are seeing our screen right here. We're going to go ahead and start a little bit about and talking about our application process. And at Gonzaga, we use the Common Application for both domestic and international first-year students. And this is an application that is accepted by many universities, so it decreases the number of forms that you have to fill out for each school. The cost for the Common Application is $60 at Gonzaga, and for those who need an application waiver for the Common Application, there are several options. The Common Application has a box where you can check it to request a fee waiver and for economic reasons, and then your high school counselor would confirm it. Additionally, there are Gonzaga alumni and parents of current students who are allowed to waive and submit waivers on behalf of students through the alumni page on the Gonzaga website. It's under the benefits section. We never want the inability to be able to pay for an application to be a barrier to applying for admission at Gonzaga. So please do contact the Office of Admission if you need assistance. Our nursing program is direct entry. So that is for intended nursing majors, you need to mark nursing on as your first interest on the application itself. And the program is fairly small and it's our most competitive major. The first thing we look for is 4 years of math and science in your high school curriculum. And please note that that's different from our general requirements where we encourage 3 to 4 years of math and science. We tend to prefer biology, chemistry, other life science labs and courses such as anatomy and physiology, and other sciences are also good, can also be very good classes. It's helpful to have some experience shadowing or volunteering in health settings as well, though we recognize that's not always possible in all areas, and it's very helpful if you can point that out to us in the application in kind of an additional information section. Students may only enter the nursing program as a first-year student, and it's a cohort model program where the students take their classes and their clinical classes together. So it's not possible to transfer into the program. It's important to note that the nursing applicants must apply to Gonzaga by the non-binding early action deadline of November 15th. Applications that are submitted after that deadline will be applying for a spot on our nursing wait list. This section of slides will kind of give you a sense of our holistic review of your application. So we look at especially 5 factors in our holistic review. And the first one is grades and grade trends together. So when we look at a student's GPA, we consider their grade trends, grades going up or down or staying the same. We look at the circumstances around those grade trends as well, including challenges that may come up throughout life. The middle 50% of all students who were admitted at Gonzaga were between a 3.53 to a 3.92 for an unweighted GPA. This with the fall of 2025 class. That means that 25% had GPAs that were below a 3.53 and 25% had GPAs that were above a 3.92 on an unweighted scale. We do use unweighted GPAs so that all students are on the same 4.0 scale, while at the same time we look at curriculum separately and give it considerable weight as well. You'll also see that the average GPA for successful nursing applicants is on the higher end of that range, with a 3.88 as an unweighted average for GPA. I've already talked about how we encourage students to take a strong college prep curriculum. Remember, for nursing, we strongly encourage all applicants to take math and science, especially lab sciences, for all 4 years of high school. And we know that taking more challenging classes can really make for students who are better prepared for college. So we encourage you to take challenging classes that are available to you and still allow you to balance and have some balance in your life. In addition to preparing students better for college and therefore factoring into the applications and merit scholarship a student may receive, many times students can bring in credits if they meet certain test requirements or college classes, and if they've taken the equivalent to classes that are offered at Gonzaga. We will add a link to the chat showing our AP, IB, Cambridge, Running Start, College in the High School, many of those different types of policies and equivalencies. So I'll have Levi add that to the chat. Please also note that if you have college credit and for courses that you took while you're in high school, or you have AP or IB or Cambridge, or from tests you've taken, you are still considered a first-year student with credit and not a transfer student. You may have enough credits to have junior standing in college, but you still need to follow all the deadlines for first-year students. So that's November 15th for nursing admission, and you're eligible for first-year scholarships for all 4 years. And you would not, you would be on a 4-year or 4.5-year program with the nursing program as well. You're not applying for scholarships as well that are for transfer students. It's the best of both worlds because you're eligible for those first year scholarships and you still get to bring in credits to help you with the courses that you're taking and your core curriculum classes. Additional parts of the holistic review are things where we consider your commitment to outside school activities. We're looking for more depth in an area rather than did you do everything. Gonzaga is a very community-oriented campus, so our students get involved in the community a lot. We seek students who want to be involved, starting new clubs, serving as leaders in some capacity, engaging in their communities, supporting others. Please note that working, volunteering, and family responsibilities are also just as important, so make sure to list those things. They show responsibility, dependability, and engagement in your community as well. And we're interested in all the different talents and passions and abilities that you would bring to your college community. For nursing students, we do strongly recommend that you get some healthcare experience, such as shadowing or interning at a hospital, participating in nursing or health camps or school clubs that might be available to you, or even shadowing your own doctor or nurse so that you can better speak to the experience of what it might be like for you to picture yourself in that field and to better discern if it's a good field for you in the first place. The common application will require an essay, and there's a short answer question on our Gonzaga questions page as well. And then there's another one that will appear if you mark yourself as a nursing major, which is, of course, what you need to do if you're applying for nursing. For the essay, the common application, you pick one of 7 different questions that are prompts that are on the common application. And the last one is essentially make up your own question. So you have limitless options. We encourage you to pick the one that speaks to you and that you can write about well. I also encourage you to make your topic kind of rather narrow rather than very broad. We want to see that you can write well, but we also want to learn more about you from the essay. The best essays let us experience what you experienced as we read them. They help show what the experience was like. They don't tell about the experience. Strong essays use vivid imagery and sometimes dialogue. They reflect on what the experience meant to them and then tie that ending back up to the beginning, referring to something that you talked about in the beginning so that you are letting your reader know you're coming to a conclusion. Of course, we also want them to be well proofread for errors. And I'm sure this goes without saying to this group, but they use appropriate capitalization, punctuation, and grammar, even in the short answer questions sections. I can't tell you the number of times we've seen little i's or a parent's name spelled with lowercase letters. While we're not going to throw away a student's application, if we see that on their application, it doesn't leave the impression that a student spent time and really is showing their professionalism through the application. For the nursing supplement question, we ask you to write about why you're choosing to be a nurse. We leave it up to you as a student to kind of write about your own stories or be creative, and of course, to be authentic in that story. Again, as we are a community that really cares about one another, the final piece is where we look at your character as seen through a letter of recommendation from an academic subject teacher, so someone who's had you in class rather than only maybe somebody who's been a coach for you. You can turn that letter in as well. We just would especially like someone who's been in class and who can really talk about what you're like in the classroom, as well as what you're like as a citizen at your school. And then there's also a school report that's filled out by your high school counselor or school office. And a letter from your high school counselor is not required, but if they do send one, we would add it to your application too. Now, with the exception of some homeschooled students, Gonzaga is test optional for admission, and that's for all majors, including nursing, all scholarships, and special programs such as the honors program. In other words, students applying without a test will have the same access to everything that students applying with a test will have. When a student applies without a test score, we place more emphasis on their GPA, their curriculum, and their writing throughout the application. You can see on my slide here that the mid 50% for test scores of admitted students for the class of 2025 was between a 1280 and a 1410 for the SAT and a 29 to a 32 for the ACT. For nursing admitted students who chose to use their test scores, they had an average of a 30.5 ACT and a 1302 SAT. Of course, those are averages because you can't actually get a 1302 SAT. But that gives you a sense of kind of where, when students who are applying for nursing, when they have turned in nursing, when they've turned in test scores, where they have been in the past. You are welcome to discuss your specific circumstances with your admission counselor if you have questions about submitting or not submitting a test score. For homeschool students who have more than 30 semester credits or 45 quarter credits of transferable credit from a college or community college at the time of the application, they don't need to submit a test score either. But those who have less college credit are required to do so. On the Gonzaga questions page of the Common Application, you're asked to mark whether or not you'd like to use your test scores. And then we would not use your test score. If you mark no, we don't use your test score, even if you've sent us your test scores previously. If you mark yes, then we will use your score, and we'll keep trying to contact you if your test score is missing from your application at the time that you apply. If you've taken the test more than once, we will super score your score. So we will take the best of each subsection, such as math and evidence-based reading and writing on the SAT, and we will add them together. So if you're using scores, then it's always helpful to provide us with all of your test scores so that we can use the highest ones from each subsection. You can please be in communication with your admission counselor if you change your mind about using a test score or not. And if we haven't finished the evaluation process, then we'll make the change for you in whichever direction you want us to. The deadline to submit a test score is usually for early action consideration. It's typically in December. For our international students, you do still have to submit a test to show English proficiency, and we'll put a link in the chat box where you can look through the options and requirement for showing English proficiency, such as an online Duolingo test. If you choose to use a test score to meet the English requirement, you will have the option still to be test optional for admissions. Finally, there's a section on the Common Application that allows you to address any hardships or issues that you've had. And there's a section where you can address dips in your grades, or any other academic or personal challenges you've had and recoveries. So that's a good section to use if any of those life circumstances would apply to you. It allows you to give us more context to your personal situation, environment, and academic history. You're also welcome to contact the admission counselor for your region to learn more and to answer any questions that you have. We will add the Find Your Counselor web page to the chat. And if you do interview with us, we'll cover your questions. We'll do individualized information on majors of interest. We can also tell you about scholarships and financial aid and so much more as well. And then we do also offer some specialized visit days called Nursing Fridays and Preview Days in both the fall and the spring semesters. These events cover program outcomes, a tour of our nursing facilities and lab spaces, as well as an opportunity to engage and connect with faculty. And I'll have Levi, if you would please put a link in the chat for us so that our students can bookmark that page, and then we'll open the registration for those visits in mid-July. And then with that, I will turn it over to Alex and her team so that you can all learn a little bit more about the nursing program itself. Alex, I'm going to stop sharing and have you share your screen.
Okay, can we see it? Perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk about specifics of the Gonzaga BSN program, do some overview, and then we can end today with some question and answers. Hopefully I can answer too many questions before we get there, but we'll see. So the Bachelor of Science degree in nursing is 128 credits currently. It is split into either 8 or 9 semester tracks, which I'll go over here in just a second. You need a 3.0 GPA to enter into your upper division clinicals as a junior and a 2.0 GPA to graduate from Gonzaga. I'm going to refer to lower division and upper division a couple of times throughout this presentation. And I want you all to know that lower division refers to our freshman and sophomore cohorts that are taking their prerequisites for their clinicals in their junior and senior year of upper division. We'll also talk a little bit more about the maintaining a 2.0 or a C grade or higher in all nursing and nursing prerequisite courses. In fall 2025, we enrolled 88 freshmen into our program, which brought us to a total of 328 students between freshman to senior year in our program. And you can see off to the right, after you are done with your BSN at any institution, you will be required to become certified through an exam called the NCLEX. This is a national exam that is taken by nurses so that they become registered. And you can see our national average compared to our Gonzaga average, starting off in 2020, where it dipped a little bit. And then most recently, these last 2 academic years, we had a 98.9% pass rate, meaning that one student did not pass in their first attempt at taking the NCLEX, which is far above the national average, as you can see. Freshman year, our students come in and they are actually enrolled into their first semester of classes by myself and a colleague. We will put the students in classes after reviewing their transfer credits and reviewing their desires for their curriculum. So if students have come in and said they want to be participating in the honors college, minoring in public health, minoring in health equity, what have you, then we would set up their curriculum to follow that path. So you can see here in freshman year, students will be working on their core courses, which are required by Gonzaga University, and then their nursing prerequisite courses. So as a freshman, our students will be taking a first year seminar to start out their core. a Philosophy 101 course, a writing course, a communications course, and then they'll start in their core broadening courses, which can be a history, a lit, or a fine arts. I just put a placeholder of history right here. And then we have our nursing prerequisite courses of biology and lab, a Chem 101 with a lab, a statistics course, and then a general psychology. Commonly, I would say this is the year that I see most of the transfer credits come in. So I see quite a few students come in with a writing, communications, history, literature, what have you, transfer in. And then as far as the nursing prerequisites go, you have to see the AP scores that are required for your Biology 105, Chem 101, which are a rare occurrence, but it does happen. And then I'd say statistics and psychology are a lot more common than biology and chemistry. That leaves students who come in with no transfer credits at about 15 to 17 credits average. I enroll my students in their first semester to succeed, and I'll explain why I do this, but I typically will not enroll students into Chem 101 in their fall semester, given the fact that we use this semester to decide or to determine whether a student is going to be placed in a fall start for their upper division clinicals of their junior year or a spring start for their junior year clinicals. That being said, Chem 101 is a very rigorous class here at Gonzaga University. And I like to have the students start with a clean slate and be able to go into their rigorous classes at a slow pace rather than throwing them into these rigorous classes immediately. So typically they would take biology with a statistics or biology with a psychology. They typically would not be taking biology and chemistry at the same time. And then they would be taking core courses. Like I stated, our freshmen will take all of their classes their freshman year in the fall. And then in the fall, they come and meet with me in about October, November. They'll come and make their perfect plan with me, and we will set out their 4-year plan. They'll tell me if they want to be fall start or spring start in their junior year. And if they decide to be fall start, we plan out all of their classes throughout with transfer credits, with everything, minors, honors, what have you, and we will make that plan. I put that down on a list, and then based off of their performance in the first semester of their science courses or their nursing prerequisite courses, they will be ranked from top to bottom and split in half. The top half will go into the fall start and the bottom half into spring. That being said, about 2/3 of my students will pick fall start, which is the 8-semester progression. And then I have about 1/3 that request the spring start, which is the 9-semester progression. A lot of students that have a 4.0 in that first semester will choose the 9-semester, 4.5-year progression, because this is the only time where you'll be able to go and do a study abroad experience for an entire semester. So if a student wants to do study abroad for an entire semester, they would pick the 9 semesters and study abroad fall of their junior year. I also have a lot of students that want to take a break in between their prerequisite nursing courses and their upper division nursing courses. I have the students that add on minors, which are anywhere from 18 to 21 credits extra on top of the 128 of our curriculum. So that 15 to 17 credits in the last slide may increase to more like 20 credits if we weren't to spread them out in 9 semesters. So I will have some students spread those things out, take 1 lab per semester, etc. So they will set that up with me fall of their freshman year. And then January of their freshman year, everyone who started with a 0.0 GPA will find out, based on the rankings of their science GPA, where they're placed in fall start or spring start. Spring starts requests so far have been fulfilled for every student. So if they request to do a study abroad, that has been fulfilled and worked for them. If we need an overall tiebreaker, we'll do a cumulative GPA. And if students are placed in spring start but don't want to study abroad and they don't want to add on a minor, what they can do is take a leave of absence, an LOA from the university, and come back for spring clinicals, and that'll keep them to the 8-semester payment schedule. I've never had a differentiation in students being placed in jobs, their NCLEX pass rates, grades, their GPAs, they're all very, very similar with each other. We have very intelligent students, but we are in Spokane, Washington. We only have so many hospitals. We're one of many nursing programs in Spokane, and we are only given so many spots through a consortium, Clinical Placements Northwest, that gives us our rotation spots for upper division. And that being said, we are given around 50 spots for those clinical rotations for our students. So we need a way to equitably split them in half. And this is the way that we have come up with it. After students have been identified as a fall or spring start in their junior year, they'll come back and see me in spring, and we will update their plan if necessary. Sophomore year, our students will go in, and as you can see, they will be taking a lot more nursing prerequisite courses than they will be for their core coursework. Core coursework, they'll finish out that core broadening with a literature and a fine arts. They'll also take another philosophy course called Philosophy of Human Nature. And then they'll be required to take a religion course that's called Christian or Catholic Traditions. Our nursing prerequisites, we have 3 courses that are going to be taught by nursing faculty to our students. Nursing 210, which is growth and development, a social determinants of health, an anatomy and physiology 1 with a lab, and that is offered in the fall only, a medical terminology course, a microbiology with a lab, and an anatomy and physiology 2 with a lab, which is offered in the spring only. To note on this slide, for transfer credits, again, I see literature come in and then possibly art. On the right side of the screen, I very rarely see these classes come in as transfer credit. If a student has partaken in an anatomy and physiology in high school, it will make it amazing and it will make you very prepared for your anatomy and physiology here at Gonzaga, but we do not accept credit to be transferred in for anatomy and physiology. It is required that you take it here at Gonzaga. It is an extremely rigorous course, and it needs to be your foundation going into upper division. Down here on the left side, that is where our anatomy and physiology classes are offered in the UW-GU partnership building here on campus. Our academic standards that I kind of touched on before, students need a C or higher in all nursing and prerequisite courses. So all students are required to get a C or higher in those biology, chemistry, anatomy and physiology, and microbiology coursework. If they receive a C minus, they're required to retake that course. If they are retaking a course, they're allowed to do that twice. On the 3rd time that they fail a course in our prerequisites, they are up for a dismissal review by our Student Affairs Committee. That doesn't necessarily mean that students are dismissed, but it does say that it's a triggering of the review for dismissal. Students who fail A&P in the fall with an F must retake it either at GU the next fall or at another accredited institution after review from the nursing department. So because F is not a grade that you can progress to anatomy and physiology 2 in the spring, that is a different process, and I just wanted to take note of that. Most people ask me about our attrition rate. So we have about 10% of each cohort that is dismissed from our program in the lower division sector. Once they hit upper division, our attrition is very, very low. Most of the students will stay and graduate throughout. But 10% is our attrition. The biggest challenge that our students actually face and why I see them dismissed more often than not is because they don't ask for help. They won't come to us when they have not done well on a test, and they don't go and get tutoring, study with other students, etc. College is just a different experience, and so the study methods are just a little different. I love to follow this up with something happy because what I just said was not a very happy thing. So I like to talk about the support that we give our students. So we, of course, have our dedicated advising each semester. I'm one of 3 professional advisors on campus, so it is not a common thing where departments have professional advisors assigned to a department. So I oversee all freshmen and sophomores. I have a one-on-one meeting with them every single semester. And then they are actually given to a faculty advisor in their junior and senior year who follows the exact same process. I also meet as regularly as the students need me to. I have a student right now that I'm meeting with weekly, another one I'm meeting with monthly, and then I have other ones that are struggling learners that I meet with quarterly. So I meet with students as often as they need to be met. Open door access to advisors and faculty. So we are all on the second floor of the Tilford building. Our students will come in and ask for questions. They will ask for guidance on things, ask how to embed other things around curriculum and clinicals. And we are very hands-on with our students. We also have embedded tutors in challenging courses in upper division nursing and classes like anatomy and physiology. So we offer that to our students to go to these embedded tutors that attend class with them, and then we'll do study sessions with them to prepare for exams. Upper division student mentors. So our Gonzaga Student Nurses Association that is run by students has a program where upper division students in nursing are assigned to lower division students in nursing, and they have a mentorship. So they help them with study skills, how to get used to college, how to deal with a broken friendship, etc. There's a lot of things that they'll help them with, and they get assigned at the beginning of the year. We also know that clinicals can be difficult sometimes. You might be there for somebody's first breath or somebody's last. So every clinical experience is paired with a clinical debrief session that students will have with a faculty member that has been hired by our team that talks students through the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens of their clinical experiences. We, again, like to have fun on top of all of this rigor. So we have community building events that we like to hold with our students. Most of these pictures, actually all of these pictures off to the left, are from a scavenger hunt that we held 2 years in a row, where students ran across campus and took pictures in different locations with each other to gain points and win prizes. We also, every fall, have a trick or treat activity where students can come around and get candy from all of our offices. We have a Valentine's card decorating that we've done before. There was bingo. We have a lot of things that we like to do with our students, like Easter egg hunts, an amazing race that's a part of a class. We like to have fun with our students and make sure that they feel connected and supported through our program. Study abroad can be taken any summer. We do not have required coursework that students need to partake in over the summer. We do require that students monitor their email over the summer so that they can make sure they are clinically compliant. Other than that, any summer is open for study abroad. However, for full semester experiences, that would only be fall of your junior year. So students can partake in any of these study abroad opportunities. They would be taking their core coursework from their junior year, world comparative religion and ethics while they're studying abroad in these places. And then typically when my students go somewhere like Florence, Italy, they'll take art as well, because would you rather take art in Spokane, Washington or Florence, Italy? They pick Florence. So they'll take those 3 classes. They're also required, if they're in a country like Spain or Italy, to take a language course. So that's about 12 credits, and it's usually a 4-day week. So our students are there for the experience and to finish out core coursework, not nursing coursework. However, occasionally we will have a faculty sacrifice a month of their summer and go and teach Nursing 210, which is a sophomore class in Glasgow, Scotland, or Florence, Italy. It has happened a couple of times. It did not last summer, but I believe that they're looking at it for this summer. This is an entire website. So if you have any other questions or there's anything else that you want to take a look at, there's an entire study abroad website on the Gonzaga website. Once students enter into upper division in either fall or spring of their junior year, they will have classes that are kind of a mixture between in-classroom nursing courses and then the hands-on nursing courses. We ease our students into this. We would not put them into a hospital immediately once they've completed anatomy and physiology, but we do put them into some scenarios where they get to start being hands-on nurses. So as you can see, they're in classroom nursing courses. They have a professional practice that will go throughout their entire upper division curriculum, where they have professional and therapeutic communications, and then a foundation of practice theory that is matched with a clinical, a nutrition and metabolism that is taught by our human physiology partners. And then, like I said, if they did not study abroad, then they would be taking their core courses of world comparative or ethics, we have a section that we pre-enroll them into that does not overlap with their clinicals. Typically during the semester, they'll have 1 day of clinicals. They have a PEDS rotation where they work on vision and hearing screening with kids in the Catholic schools here in the area. And then they have a geriatric clinical where they work on activities of daily living, or ADLs, helping them brush their hair, helping them move from bed to chair, maybe bed baths, etc. Just getting used to being in that caregiver role. Their focus is on that clinical reasoning and then pulling in that therapeutic and professional communication. They are also going to have a lab, as you can see on the bottom of the screen. Our skills lab is the second picture. And then these two wonderful students off to the right are in the skills lab learning how to function with all of the different devices that they will interact with in the hospitals. So everything in our skills lab is functional. The air is actually functional on the wall. It's not oxygen, but they can pump air out of it. The suction works. We have task trainers where they can work with PICC lines. We have obviously IV bags. We have electronic health records. We try and make it as realistic for our students as possible so that they know exactly what they're going to be going into as they go into the hospital. We also employ nurses that work on the floor currently. So when they come into our lab, they will give us updated techniques and updated medical equipment that we need to replace. We have quite a few mannequins, as you can see down in the right corner. That is a mid-fidelity mannequin that our student there is working on. That mannequin will let you kind of test everything on them, poke them, all of those things, but their eyes do not open, they do not breathe, they don't talk, any of those things. But we do have some high fidelity mannequins that do all of those things. Their pupils will dilate, they have heartbeats, they'll talk, they can move their face around, they can have a seizure, hemorrhage, etc. So those are the kind of experiences that we try and have our students have in the lab so that they know how to handle that when they go out into their clinicals. As you can see in the lab for this specific semester, they're really, really hands-on. They have about 4 hours of lab that they are required to do per week, in addition to their 1 day of clinicals. And then they have open lab that they can sign up for to see if they can work on that skill a little bit more and get more hands-on and in-depth on that basic procedure and the safety protocols necessary. In their second semester of their junior year, they'll go into Foundations of Practice 2 theory paired with their clinical, which is a medical surgical rotation at the Valley Hospital here in Spokane. The professional practice goes into a research and evidence-based practice. So they'll work on some research and nursing evidence-based research. Then they have a special population 1 that starts off with a psych and mental health, which may place them in our Eastern State Hospital in Medical Lake. Everything is sorry, I'm talking so fast. Everything is accessible through the bus system and here in Spokane. The only thing that we have assigned our students at this point in time is the Eastern State Hospital experience, which is out in Medical Lake, which is about 25 minutes away from our institution. So students would need a car for that. A lot of our students will carpool and they don't need a car during this semester. However, when the need occurs, it would be during this semester. They also might take a core course, either world comparative or ethics, whichever one they haven't completed if they didn't go abroad, and then the hands-on nursing courses. So like I said, the medical surgical rotation where they might be able to go see a med surg unit, go into the ER, go into ICU. They'll be able to see a lot more hands-on experiences. They are always paired with a nurse when they go out to clinicals. And then that nurse, while that nurse is paired up with the student, we also have a faculty that'll walk around the floor and watch the 10 students that are in that area. So the clinicals are broken down into groups of 10, and then there's a faculty that oversees that. And then when they go into the hospitals, it's usually a one-on-one with another nurse who can teach them skills. There's also a special population, like I said, matched with the psych mental health theory. There's a psych mental health clinical, and then there's a Foundation of Practice 2 lab where they get to be a little bit more hands-on and go down to our simulation suite where we have the high fidelity mannequins, and they're set up like hospital rooms. So there's a one-way mirror on the other side that you can look through and see what the student is doing by themselves or with a group in that room. Typically, we have them in groups of 3 during this semester, and there's another room kind of behind these students down to the right. There's a room behind them that students can see on a camera what's going on, and then they'll switch after 15 minutes and kind of see how they're going to handle that situation with that patient. We never let students kill a patient, but we do let them experience a dichotomy of experiences. So we want them to have this competency in the medical, like how to give medicine, how to give patient assessments. And then, of course, that safety and quality is always going to be a pillar of how we're going to teach them in their lab practice. Once they enter their senior year, this is when they'll go into the bigger hospitals here in Spokane. So they'll have a Foundations of Practice 3 theory paired with a clinical, which is another medical surgical rotation. They'll be able to go into our Sacred Heart and our Holy Family hospitals and see a more hands-on experience. They'll have a lot more skills down. The nurse will know them because hopefully they're staying with the same nurse through their entire clinical. They may go up to about 2 days of clinical, potentially 3, depending on the rotation. They'll have an OB theory paired with an an OB clinical. They also have a PEDS theory that is matched with a PEDS clinical, which is going to be at the Children's Hospital here in Spokane. And then they'll take something called Core Integrated Seminar. That's their last core course that's required by Gonzaga. And we have a healthcare ethics that they are taking during that course. In the bottom, the little fishes on the ceiling, that is a hallway in our Sacred Heart Providence Hospital here for the PEDS rotation that the students will see. And then we have our Sacred Heart Hospital downtown in Spokane. And then off to the right, some wonderful seniors as they are all very excited for their graduation and ready with all their new skills. In their last semester, the first 5 weeks of their last semester is called Final Practicum. So you can see Professional Practice 5, Final Practicum. The students will be asked in their senior first semester what experience they want to go back and partake in to see if that's where they want to go and be employed afterwards. They will list out a bunch of them, and based off of all the spots that we have and all the nurses that have signed up to pair with students, they will be placed in a practicum and work that nurse's schedule for 5 weeks. So if that means 410s, it's 410s. If it's nights, it's nights. If it's 312s, then it's 312s. They will work that nurse's schedule and they will learn hands-on nursing. That nurse will know exactly what skills that they have perfected and know what skills that they can do so that when they leave our hallowed halls, they are ready to go out and practice in wherever they would like to apply. As you can also see, we have a special populations, pop health. So they'll go over some population health theory, and they'll pair that with a clinical where they can go out into our community and do some community partnerships and work on some projects to help our community here in Spokane. They'll have a leadership class of a Professional Practice 3, again, quality and safety, Professional Practice 4, and then, of course, last but not least, an NCLEX prep course to get them ready for that exam that they'll be taking. During this semester, all the practicums currently are here in Spokane. However, there is a pairing in Seattle Children's that a couple of our students will typically be able to partake in and have in the previous years. We pay somebody to go out there and teach our students. However, we do not have a place for them to stay. They have to pay for their own stay and they have to pay for their own transportation. So typically students will stay with family or they'll get a house together while they're at that Seattle Children's. That is completely voluntary. Students are not placed in that unless they ask to be placed in that. And that is the end of my presentation. So I am ready for Q&A.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that very in-depth information about each year and what students can expect. That is excellent information. So I think Levi's going to lead us through our Q&A for anything we have open in the chat. And everyone, please feel free to type more questions into the Q&A for us, whether that's admission related or more about program specific information that you're seeking.
I see the first question, if you want me to address that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I actually have been getting this question a lot more than I anticipated. So while medical is a big, huge tree, nursing and becoming a doctor are very different branches. So if a student wants to go to medical school, there are a lot of prerequisites to get into medical school, like organic chemistry, physics, etc. Nursing is not going to prep anybody to get into medical school. You would be missing a lot of coursework in order to get into medical school. So nursing is not a way to get into medical school. It is a completely different field. So if a student is interested in going to medical school, we do have a lot of programs that are pre-med prep that you can get into from Gonzaga and go to a med school program. But nursing is not a prep for med school, and you wouldn't be able to complete a nursing degree in 4 years or even 4.5 years and then apply to med school. I would assume it would take you an extra probably year and a half of courses in order to be ready to get into a med program.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Another question that came up, if a nursing student is in a 9 semester program, does their 4 year scholarships get extended for that extra semester?
I'm going to let you guys help me with this one, but my understanding, their scholarships carry through all 9 semesters.
You are absolutely correct, Alex. Yes, that's absolutely true. And really, at Gonzaga, your scholarships and grants that are awarded by Gonzaga continue until you complete your program. So even in another major, if it took 4.5 years for a student to graduate or 5 years, then Gonzaga does extend that financial aid that's been awarded in that first year, as long as it's a full-time student and you're in good academic standing as well. So, yeah. Good question.
Good question. And then another question was, they might have been mentioned earlier in the presentation, but for nursing students, is there specific study abroad opportunities that they can do throughout their academic journey here at Gonzaga?
It all depends. So I have a couple of students right now that brought in so many transfer credits that they are taking their world comparative and ethics as a sophomore. So they actually don't have any requirements while they're studying abroad. So they can study abroad wherever they want. It's only going to be core coursework that you work on. And typically a lot of the study abroad experiences are going to offer a world comparative religion. The ethics, maybe that one, it's most likely going to be offered, but it's not guaranteed. Same thing with art. So while you're working on core coursework, it can get done in your sophomore year and you can partake in any study abroad that you would like. I had a student go to Copenhagen, Auckland, Oxford. I have one going to Singapore, a lot that go to Florence, Madrid, Colombia. They really go everywhere. So it's not just Florence and it's not just one study abroad. It's a whole spectrum of where they go. So no, you won't be taking any nursing courses. So you can go wherever you want.
Awesome. And then another good question was, someone had asked, what is the probability of getting a job in the nursing field after graduation, especially if they're from out of states and they're looking to get a job back in their hometown state?
So I'm going to let Tara, as the senior wizard, answer that question.
Yeah, every semester is a little bit different. Spring semester graduation tends to be a little bit harder to find jobs, but I usually have a half to 2/3 of the students that have jobs at graduation. And then the others follow very quickly behind.
And it all depends on where you're looking for jobs.
Yes.
I know that California is extremely competitive. So
Yes.
I do have a lot of students that will start with jobs here in Washington so that they get experience and they can look a lot more competitive going back to California.
Yes.
Your practicum is also a great experience because they want you to get hired where you're at your practicum. I have a student that's in their senior 1 semester right now and has been offered jobs at every rotation for the last 2 rotations because they're like, you want to work here? We'll get you a job here. And then they yell at the nurse and they're like, put her on the list. We're going to hire her. So they want you here. They want to keep our students here in Spokane. So you're very hireable here in Spokane, but it all depends on where home is and where you want to go.
It also depends on what you're willing to do or where you want to live. What I've been telling my seniors this semester is don't apply for a job at a hospital where you're not willing to live in that town. Don't, you need to figure out where you're going to live. If you know where you're going to live, then you have a little bit more flexibility. The other part is specialties. If you're holding out for a specialty residency program, you might have to wait. You might not get a job quickly. If you're ready to do anything, like med surge is going to be your best bet, and you could probably get your job before you graduate.
Awesome. Someone else had asked, how do I know if nursing is the right profession for me? I have wanted to be a doctor for a long time, but have thought about nursing a lot more often.
That's an awesome question. So I'm going to say personally, I actually went into my undergrad as pre-med and I was really excited about it for about a year and a half. And then I went and sat in OChem and I started like physically crying while they were walking through the syllabus and everything that we were going to have to do, and decided in that moment I wasn't going to be pre-med. So I decided to do something else. I've been a part of the nursing program for 4 years. I'm not a nurse. And I've had a lot of students come in and just try it and see what they think in lower division. Talk to the upper division students, go and shadow a nurse, all of those things that you can see. You can always switch out of nursing into another degree. You don't have to stay in nursing. But as a non-nurse, I think that's all I can say. And I'm going to let Tara take it away.
She's right. It's way easier to start in nursing and decide that it's not for you than it is to because we don't transfer in. So that is great advice. The other advice, if you have an opportunity to shadow a nurse versus a doctor, I think that's a great idea. It really depends on what you want your life to look like. What kind of doctor you think you might be. What are you craving? Are you craving personal connection with patients, or are you craving the mystery and of trying to figure out what's wrong with the patient? It really depends. The other part I would encourage you to is you can really have the best of both worlds. If you go to nursing, become a nurse, and then go and become a nurse practitioner, you get to do all the doctor things that a doctor does, but you also have the foundation of nursing, which is very different from medicine. So that would be my best. I guess it really just depends on what do you want your life to look like?
I have two current freshmen that decided to switch out of nursing so that they could go into medical school or pre-vet. So know that that's always something. Your freshman year is a great time for you to just kind of get your feet wet, learn a little bit more about nursing in a foundational class, and then go from there. There's nothing wrong with that by any means.
And one thing that was missing too, because it's not official yet. We are going to be having a nursing freshman class called Nursing 110, and it's called Caring Matters, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so new, really. And it's gonna give freshmen the basics of nursing. What does it mean to be a nurse? What does it look like? And that is going to help our freshmen really get a better idea of, like you said, do I want to do this? What do I want to do? 18, 17 years old is very young to decide that you want to be a nurse, but it happens all the time.
Yeah, if I were you, I'd Google scope of practice in a bunch of different professions, like all of the things that you're thinking of. Just Google scope of practice and you'll see what you can do with each of those professions.
Yeah, I was just going to note that that's part of the reason why we like to ask for healthcare experience of students when you apply for admission, because it's actually just as much for you to be able to get a little bit of an experience in healthcare field. So I love that idea or that suggestion of shadow a nurse, shadow a doctor, like see what what is pulling you, like what areas really resonate most with you.
Awesome. And then I think we have time for one more question here. Um, is there any extra cost in order to study abroad? Yeah, no, that's a great question. Um, I can kind of take this one and Carrie, if you want to jump in here. But the great thing about Gonzaga study abroad programs is that for Gonzaga sponsored study abroad programs, students' entire financial aid packages will carry over with them and help kind of pay for the costs associated with that. Generally, when students are thinking about studying abroad, they'll have to work on purchasing a U.S. passport to go fly around the world, purchasing a U.S. visa to go live there in that country as a student, as well as airline and luggage fees as well too. I always like to mention is that if students are ever worried about that cost for studying abroad, the Study Abroad Office does offer scholarships for students, and they can certainly provide additional resources to kind of help make that experience a lot more accessible. We certainly don't want the financial piece to be a barrier to students to be able to kind of see the world and go see kind of the experiences that they can pursue out there for later on.
There's a question that says, are all undergraduate classes in person? Yes. Yes, they are. Summer classes are sometimes offered online, but during fall and spring, they are offered in person. Yes. And actually, it's a requirement of all your science courses to be in person. We don't want you to learn anatomy on like Zoom. We want you to learn it in person. So, and then will students in this program have a lot of free time to pick up club sports? As a freshman and sophomore, yeah, 100%. Go for it. You're not in clinicals at all. Once you get into upper division, it's a little bit more dynamic. We do have student athletes, but I wouldn't say that it's easy. It takes a lot of creativity, takes a lot of balance, and it takes a little bit of sacrifice in a couple of different areas. So I think it's not impossible. I have a ton of students that are in club sports that participate all the way through. Are there any nursing classes available during the summer? Not typically, but our research class is sometimes offered over the summer.
Awesome. Those are all great questions, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your questions with us. Thank you, colleagues, for sharing answers and more about the program. It's been a real pleasure to be with all of you this evening. We definitely appreciate all of your time. We hope that students will join us for other webinars. I'll ask Levi to add the link for those into the chat so that you can see where those other webinars will be. We'll continue to do series of webinars throughout the fall and then the next spring as well. And you can also see a posting of this webinar at that same location in a couple of days. So we would also love to have you come and do more virtual visiting or also come and visit campus. We would love to have you come visit campus and experience things as well. So those preview days, those nursing Fridays that we talked about, those are the best times to come if you want to see the simulation labs and you want to just get an even more in-depth experience of what nursing might be like for you at Gonzaga. So Levi has added those into the chat for you. We wish you the very best with your college process, and we hope that you'll let us know when we can help. Thanks so much for attending tonight, and thanks for your interest in being a ZAG. Take care, everyone. Good night.